What's going on, guys? Do you ever wonder how the pros install Christmas lights so that it can look nice like this or like that? Well, I actually have a Christmas light installation business, so I'm going to tell you how we do it. I'm not also going to tell you that, but I'm going to tell you how you can do it yourself using the type of lights that you can buy at, Home Depot, Lowe's, Walmart, that sort of thing. So let's just jump into it. The actual materials we use are surprisingly expensive. When I first got into this, I had no idea it cost so much. So this is what the pros use, or at least we do, most people do, and basically it's customizable. You can see this is a very short line, and each bulb you can unscrew. So that's a big difference between what you're buying here versus what you buy at Walmart or Home Depot. These bulbs right here are about $1 a piece. If you buy them in bulk, you might be able to get these down 78, maybe even 75 cents, depending on where you get them from, but that's surprisingly expensive. And if you're gonna put it on the front facing fascia, like you see here, house could have 200 feet of fascia. And if you will just have one every foot, you're looking at 200 of these, plus you still gotta buy the line, you gotta buy the female and male connectors, you gotta buy the clips, you gotta buy the timer. I mean, you could be looking at $200-300 for a home just in materials. And if you have a huge, crazy big home or one that just happens to have a lot of fascia the way it's designed, you could be looking at over $400 for the materials in year one. Now, obviously, the second year, it's cheaper. Now, what's crazy is this is called a C9 light bulb, and all they're talking about is this plastic part, how big that is, where you can buy something like this for a lot less. You can actually get 100 C9 bulbs, LED, for under $20. So why on earth is this so expensive, and why would you want to do that? There's two big reasons. One, higher quality, it's going to last longer, be more durable, but equally as important is this is fully customizable. You can make exact lengths, where this is not that customizable. I'm going to show you some tips and tricks how to use these kind of cheap materials to give a custom clean look on your house. At least with this model, you can see this one is a lot brighter. Hopefully the camera can pick that up. And the big reason is there's actually 5 LEDs, light emitting diodes, versus this is the only thing that's emitting light. It's a little tiny diode, where this guy has 5. That's one reason. I've heard a lot of people say, the commercial ones are a lot brighter, but to be honest, I have seen, you pay a little bit more for them, but ones at the big box stores that actually are, in my opinion, just as bright, maybe even like brighter. They have some like unique colors sometimes, like a bluish purple that really pops. So that isn't always necessarily true, but it usually is just one light emitting diode. Now, another reason why this costs so much more than this is because there's a lot of electronics actually down here in the base. For an LED to emit light, it has to have a particular voltage. And when you plug something in, at least in the US, you're getting like 110, 120 volts. And these LEDs take a lot less voltage. Depending on which one, it might be like 5 volts. Basically, you have to reduce the voltage for these to work. Now, in this, string of light that has 25 bulbs, the mechanisms, the electronics that are reducing the voltage are actually right here. Now, a disadvantage is, let's say that you pull out this light emitting diode, or it goes bad. So let me, and you noticed all the lights went out. So just one bad bulb, one bad LED, and your whole strand's done now. Versus on a commercial light, because the electronics that's in the line is actually in the base of this bulb. If one bulb goes out, that's it, it's just one bulb. All the others stay on, and you can just replace that bulb. That's why this costs a lot more than this long strand of lights. You can have a strand of 100 lights. When it usually gets more than 25, there's multiple resistors or multiple things that reduce the voltage. So if you pull out a bulb, you'll notice, hey, the next 10 lights went out, but the rest are on, and they're in different sets, which we'll get to in a minute. It's one of the ways you can help customize it. But that's a big reason why this costs so much more. Another reason is you can see there's 3 lines here. That's how they're doing it. These lines are actually really cheap and easy to break. If you were to leave them up year round, they won't last. Wind will break them. Squirrels will chew through them. Versus this wire here is a lot more heavy duty, and it's just 2 wires. It's just the alternating current going back and forth between 2 of them. They don't need 3 because all the electronics is in the bulb, which makes the bulb, $1 a piece. You might even see some incandescent bulbs like this at the big box stores, and you'll notice it's yellow here. It's a different kind of metal. It's copper versus this is nickel. It also helps with erosion when it's outside. These will last a lot longer than the other ones. Here's your light bulb in the big box stores. Here's your light bulb commercial setting, and there's a big price difference between them. Now, like I said, with it being customizable, you can actually take an extension cord like this guy, and you can make it as long or as short as you need to. We actually attach the ends with a male and a female. If you're gonna do this on your own, definitely learn about electricity. You don't want to electrocute yourself. That's why it's probably best for the pros to do it. But you can see we've got a male and a female on this one. This is very short. You can even pop off these sockets. It's the same thing. This is plugging directly into the line with these teeth, and this line actually lays in there like that, and the teeth pierce the line so that it can pull some electricity out. So the advantage of that is that's how you get that clean, crisp line where it's exactly the right length. And if you need to go from one peak to another, you can run a short extension cord with no lights on it, the exact length, and it all just lines up and is really clean. But that's why this is so expensive. And if you just want to do it yourself and you want to use the same stuff the pros use, my favorite place is Novelty. I'll put a link in the description. You can go to their website and order Christmas lights if you want to use, this kind of stuff. So you're probably wondering, how do I use the cheaper big box store lights that I have access to give that clean, crisp, professional install? Now, I'm going to give you some tips and tricks and explain to you how to do it. First thing is, if you want to do your front facing fascia or roof line, you want to measure the length of that so you know how many Christmas lights to buy. Now, once you've got that measurement, you actually want to add 25 to 30% for slack in the line. Another thing you want to think about with your fascia is it a continuous line all the way through, or are there breaks? And if there are breaks to where you have to basically go from this side to this side, you might need extra line, or you might want to buy incremental lines. So you might want to buy one that's 25 foot long, one that's 50 foot long, and one that's 100 foot long, depending on the dimensions of your roof. And doing a little pre-planning will help. I would also recommend, especially if you live close enough to the store, overbuy and then return what you don't need. And in my opinion, if you spend more time planning than installing, you'll be a lot better off and have a better outcome. Just to give you a quick example of my roof, you can see here there is a little bit of line, and then I've got to jump over to my other roof line. And there's two ways you can do that. One is just get a long enough line to cover the entire front facing and to cover that gap. Or two, get a short strand and a long strand. Put the short strand there and the long strand there and connect them with an extension cord. And every house is going to be different, and you'll just need to determine what's going to be best for you. Okay, to get that clean look where it's like a straight line, is all the bulbs you want facing a certain way, and you do that with clips. So all the bulbs are facing up or facing out. They're not just hanging on a line like this where they're just facing a bunch of different ways. You actually have clips so that each bulb is facing the same direction, and that's what gives it a clean, crisp look. What you're looking for is an all-in-one clip. They come in different shapes, sizes, and looks. Normally the commercial sites, they're gonna look more like this, and if you go to the big box stores, they're gonna look more like this. You can use either and they work. I wouldn't worry too much about it. I do prefer these, if you're wondering, over these, but to not make this video super long, I'm not going to get into why. They both work fine. If we run out or they're out of stock of these, we'll use these, no problem. They do the same thing. These clips actually attach to each socket, and then they can attach to a gutter or to a shingle of a roof and keep them all going the same way. I'll show you how to do that in a second. But another reason, another advantage of these is you have this big socket here versus when you're dealing with like these type, you can see it's a very small socket, so it's actually more finicky and difficult and takes longer to install them. It still works. You just got to make sure you get it on the base and you have that little bit to hang on there. It still works. We've done it. I've done it on my own house. You can do it. It'll still work. Same thing with this kind of clip. You'll notice there's a little bottom piece here. And when you put this one on, that bottom piece helps keep it on the actual bulb. So now let's look at how you actually put this on your roof or your gutters, and a couple other quick tips to make sure it looks really clean and nice. You never put on a clip until you're actually up on the roof. You do everything else on the ground, but you put the clips up on the roof. And the reason for that, there's a couple different ways that they can go onto the light depending on where it's going, and transitions happen. It's hard to predict from the ground, so you do it up on the roof. So here's your C9 socket, and there's going to be situations where it's sitting on a gutter going this way, or it's sitting on a gutter going that way. So whenever you're putting it on this side of the clip where this piece isn't, it's pretty simple. You just push it in like that, and this is going to go into the gutter, which I'll show you here, and it's going to sit there like that. Okay, now let's say that it's going in the gutter this way. There's a little trick. You take the end piece here and you slide it under there, and then I kind of like push it up, and then when I bring it back, there's this other little tab right here my thumb is on, and that I pushed, hear that? See how it goes under it? And that helps keep it secure, so you'll feel it like, so then it's in your gutter as shown, and it'll be both ways. Now let's say that you're actually installing it on the roof. It's the same thing. It'll be going this way, and this is going to slide up under the roof as shown here, or it'll be on the other side. You just push it on like that, and then this slides up underneath the roof, and then when you go to pull it and release, it comes off really easy. And I'll show you in the gutter here in a sec. When it's in the gutter, the reason we like these clips, when you pull, it comes right off of the gutter, and that's why this is shaped that way. It's for that easy release. There's two ways that lights can be attached to a gutter, and it really just depends. You don't have to remember this, but it depends on which direction they're going. So if the male is on your right hand side and the female is on the left hand side, then they're going to go in this way. And the difference is there is this little clip right here that's not actually attached to the clip, so they can pop in and out. Now the other way is if the male is on the left hand side and it's going, and the female is on the right hand side, they're going to be put in this way. And the difference is the actual clip, this part on the C9 is going to be connected with the all-in-one clip. Now it's very important that you put them on this way with a gutter. You want this little notch with the tooth on that part of the gutter, because when you go to remove these lights, you're going to pull from the ground, not even on a ladder, and it's going to come right off like that. So when you get going quickly, you might accidentally put on the clip the wrong way, and then you go to put it on the gutter and you're like, oh bummer, it's the wrong way. Now what you're tempted to do is just whatever, I'll just put it on and leave it. It still works, it's fine. Now I know that that might be tempting, but don't ever do that. The reason is, now when we go to remove this clip, it gets stuck. It's a lot harder to remove because of that tooth. So when you accidentally put it on the wrong way, just take the extra 2 seconds to take the clip off, flip it around, and put it on the right way. When you're coming around the corner, you might realize, well, hey, this doesn't fit here, so I need to put it here. And you might be tempted to put it there, but never do this. You don't do this. You always put it on the edge right here. Even if there's a lot of slack in the line, that's fine, but never bring it around and put it here. If you can reach it over to the roof, that's where you'd go. Now you notice you have to change the clip, but if you can bring it to the roof edge, you can go there, but never go here. Only go here or here. And the reason for that is, if you do put it here, you'll notice on this side, one's facing out, one's facing up, and you want professional, you want it to look consistent all the way. So all of the ones that are this way, that are on the gutter facing this way, are down, and all the ones that are on the roof line going this way are up. So that's why I never put one here. Just like the example with the gutters, there's two ways the clips can be connected to the lights. One way is when the actual clip part, this part, is hooked onto the clip, and then where the clip's facing the outside and it's not actually hooked onto the clip. One thing to note is, when you reuse these years over years, you may need to replace the clips that are shaped this way where it's not actually hooked onto the clip. Reason being, they lose their elasticity and they open up, and the cold makes them not want to go back to how they were, so they become really loose and the light and the socket won't fit. So if it's kind of falling out and it's not fitting, just replace that clip. So when attaching it to the roof, you can see there's a few different ways that I showed. So one way is you can go the whole shingle where you can slide it up underneath, and then the tooth part grabs onto the roof. That's one way. But sometimes when you go to lift this up, it won't actually lift up. It's stuck to here, so you can't slide anything in that crack. If that's the case, then you can lift up just a couple shingles and find an area where you can slide that in and get it in there. But I find it's easiest when it is able to lift up, just to put them all like this, and it's very secure. But you might get to one where you can't do that, and it's okay to put it on 1 or 2 shingles like you see here. Alright, so like that picture, we're going to imagine this is the roof line and here's the peak. You always need a bulb on the peak. Now, if you realize when you're laying it out you made a mistake and it's not on there, you need to adjust it so that there's a bulb on the peak. Sometimes where that's plugged in, you don't have any more room, so you're going to have to take it from this side. So you're going to move this bulb here and make sure it's on the peak. Now, when you have 2 bulbs really close together, you don't have to be crazy trying to get it super symmetrical, but that doesn't look good either. So bring this bulb up a little bit maybe, and then make sure that this is at least half the length apart. And I would just move it just a little bit. You can move this one just a little bit and just make it look a little bit better. Don't put 2 bulbs right next to each other. Give them a little bit of space so that when you look at it, it looks clean and professional. But remember, on every single peak, there always has to be 1 bulb sticking straight up, every peak. So I'm going to explain how you can make it the custom length. Alright, so you'll run into 2 situations. One is you need to have extra line. You know, you don't want to leave it short and have half of your house not done, or even just, 5 foot. It might look weird. If it's a foot, you could maybe get away with it, but what you want is, the end of your roof is here, but now what do you do with all these extra lights? The other situation you'll have is kind of like on my house. You're going to get this section done, and then you have to jump up to the next roof line. You just don't want this strand of lights just sitting there. It doesn't look clean and give that professional look. So we need to do something with these light bulbs. So I'm going to give you 3 tips and tricks. One is, I know if I take this out, that all my lights go out, and we don't want that. So I'm going to cover it with electrical tape because it's black tape that doesn't let anything through. And I think the easiest way is make sure you get to the base so that no light comes out. And you're just going to cover that LED. You could leave it like this, but I like to put this back on just so that if I ever wanted to modify it in the future, I have all the pieces. Now you might notice if you have a long strand, like one of those 100-footers or something, that when you take 1 bulb out, let's say 25 go out, but the next 75 are good. And you'll notice there's usually little resistors in the line, little things like this, and you'll be able to see, okay, every time I see one of these, if I remove a bulb in between them, that whole section goes out. So you can know, okay, hey, I need to go this far, and that's 2.5 sections, or just 1 section and a couple bulbs, something like that. So to give an example, if you're trying to go from number 9 to number 10 in this photo where the green arrow is pointing on that red line, and you knew that that was 1.5 section of your strand, you could pull a bulb out of 1 section and all those lights are off, and then go ahead and tape half of the bulbs on the second section. There are some, they definitely cost more, and this is one where they'll advertise 1 light can go out and they still stay on. So let's test that theory here. See, I took 1 bulb out and the rest come on. So that can be helpful, but at the same time, you're going to notice something else. 1 bulb can go out, but if 3 in a row go out, the entire thing goes out. So let me put this guy back in, and you can see the lights come back on. So let's try this one down here. You can see, okay, I can take this one out, and now it's okay because I have 1, 2, 3 in a row that are still there. Every single one's going to be different, but I'm getting to a point here. Let's say that you're going from this light needs to be on, and then you need to jump, let's say 5 foot. And that's where the new roof line starts. So we want all these lights off and to act as an extension cord so that at night you don't see the light. I'm going to remove 2 in a row. When I get to the 3rd one, I'm going to tape it then. I remove the next one, and then maybe you'll notice, hey, when I remove this, they all go out again, so I would have to do electrical tape here. And let's say we're just trying to go to this white bulb. See if we get lucky and we can remove this, or if we need to tape it. Oh, we can remove it. bam. So these types of strands are a little bit more expensive, but they can save you some time because you don't have to tape all the bulbs. You only have to tape about half and you can pull the other half. Now, let's say you get to the end of your roof line and you have this extra cord and these lights are on. Depending on how it is, there's a few things you can do. One is, obviously you can do this trick. If you take one out and the whole strand goes out, just electrical tape them, right? But let's say it's a really long piece, like, man, it's gonna take forever. It's close to the ground or something like that, to where I literally had like 30 extra foot. I just taped the bulbs down to the ground. I rolled the rest up into a ball and I put it in a black trash bag. Since they're LED, I wasn't worried about them overheating or anything. And then I just tucked that trash bag underneath this little bump out part of my house here, just to save the time of doing each bulb. If you're curious how we do trees and you'd like some pointers, tips and tricks on how we do it, let me know in the comments and I'll make another video just on that. This video got way longer than I was expecting, but... Alright, if you found this video helpful, please give me a like, comment, or maybe even subscribe. Really appreciate you watching. See you next time.